Hey everybody, thanks for watching. Hit the bell, subscribe. We have new content coming out daily. Make sure you subscribe. God bless you guys. What can Congress do, if anything? You were in the trenches, knife fighting against these bureaucrats that hated Donald Trump and all this. So two-part question. Number one, tell us about how bad it actually is in the deep state and the administrative state. Number two, can Congress temporarily do anything before a new executive takes power?
Congress should get a civil service bill ready that repeals all civil service protections. And the president on day one should say, I want a civil service reform bill on my desk that repeals these protections. On January 20th, I expect to sign that bill. If you do not present me with that bill, I will start enacting mass government layoffs through my executive power, which does exist. So he needs to play hardball with Congress, and Congress can start preparing a bill right now. You asked about what else can be done. It's a big problem. It's worse than you could ever imagine. These agencies are completely unaccountable. When the president signs an executive order, the bureaucrats at the agencies laugh at that. They look at the executive order as a suggestion. There is no guarantee that they will actually get that executive order done unless you have placed your people in that agency to get it done. So these are the types of things we need to be looking at.
So is there an example that comes to mind, James? Let's really build this out. I mean, whether it be maybe Trump's travel ban, or, maybe Donald Trump wanted to build a barrier border wall, right? Or Donald Trump wanted to move the embassy to Jerusalem, or the Golan Heights, things that were unilaterally done. Is there an example that comes to mind of a time where Donald Trump signed an executive order and it was delayed, misrepresented, or dead on arrival by unelected bureaucrats?
Yes, the travel ban is a fantastic example. When Donald Trump issued the travel ban, which was a campaign promise that everybody should have seen coming, he didn't yet have the people in place at the Department of Homeland Security to implement that executive order. And the deep state resisted in any way they possibly could. That meant they kept airports open. They refused to interdict people at airports. You have to get that machinery right first, then start giving the orders. Unless that machinery is correct, there is no guarantee that the executive branch will reflect the president's view.
And so this was probably a daily pattern, right? So there's the big ones, travel ban, all that. But then I'm sure there were the smaller ones, right? I mean, for example, the quote-unquote anonymous guy who's a really bad guy. What's his name again, that lunatic? He was an unelected bureaucrat. What's his name?
Miles Taylor.
Miles Taylor, really bad guy. Or Eric Cimarella. I mean, think about this. You guys, there were bureaucrats that were spying on the president, leaking conversations, misrepresenting conversations, and it was a bureaucracy that was at war with the presidency. Can you talk about some of the micro stuff, James? The one-off comments, the Donald Trump will not last forever, the gay pride flags in the State Department, the BLM, kind of pseudo-religious ceremonies through the bureaucracy. Just talk about the stuff that doesn't necessarily always get the headlines, but just the aura, the vibe, the attitude of what it was like to deal with a bureaucracy that was 99% against the president.
The biggest problem is once you get in there, there is a sprawling White House bureaucracy. People think that you just get into the White House and it's the president and a few of his top aides. No, there's almost 1,000 career permanent bureaucrats that work there, including the National Security Council staff. Who leaked the Ukraine call? It was the people on the National Security Council staff that were permanent bureaucrats. People like Vindman. They are literally walking around the halls of the White House.
That's right.
The next president that gets in needs to expel the permanent bureaucrats from the White House. Over time, they have literally taken up the White House office space and are basically spying on the president. And even worse than that, they represent themselves as the presidency. They go to the agencies and say, this is what the president wants. I work at the White House, when it's not what President Trump wanted at all. So they almost have usurped the president's authority because of their physical location in the White House.
By the way, I visited the EEOC probably 80 to 100 times. I saw Vindman. I saw these people. They walked around with free reign in the White House and doing whatever they want. And there's no better example of the government versus the president than COVID. That's where it really all came together, where Donald Trump's instincts were right. He said, well, why not early treatments? Nope. Why not this lockdown thing? Nope. So, James, let's now talk about, and we only have a couple minutes in this segment because I think we've built out the problem. What then can be done? How do you potentially marshal control or command of a multi-million person bureaucracy with maybe 3,000 appointed positions? Is it possible?
Yes, it is possible. You have to delegate less and follow up more. It could be solved very quickly. Imagine if President Trump visited some of these agencies. Let's say he visited the State Department and said, where are we on that order that I told you to enact about a month ago? The Secretary of State will say, oh, it's stuck in this bureau within my department. Okay, let's bring that bureaucrat up right now and let's see what the holdup is. Oh, he's refusing to do it? He's gone. He's fired and he's marched out of the building right there. You need to be able to walk into these agencies like Vice President Dick Cheney actually did when he was really running the federal government in the Bush administration. So we need to get much more hands-on. For example, the president can appoint an attorney general that actually treats the FBI as subordinate. The attorney general can walk across the street to the FBI and he can say, let's review the cases that you're working on. If there's a weird case where they're planning to entrap right-wingers to kidnap a Democrat governor, like they did entrapping people to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer, the attorney general can say, that case is closed, and who came up with that case? They're gone. March them out of the building right now. If you do things like that, the culture will change very quickly.
So we're gonna pick this up after the break. That is such a smart point, James. And by the way, the most successful CEOs right now, Elon Musk and others, they use the pop-in as a way to keep their middle management accountable. The pop-in has been proven to be, it's against the textbook, by the way. The textbook says don't do it, but that was like old 1960s. We're going to talk about this. It's brilliant. Imagine if Donald Trump just was like, let's just go over to HUD. And you just show up and you just start walking the halls and be like, how's this and how's this and how's this? You just take over the conference room.